yes, let's move on to our next session, which is on the craze of esports. As we all know that the craze of esports keeps growing to the next level, especially among the youth, or I would say Gen Z people. In the upcoming panel discussion, which is esports future, what can we expect from esports? The panelists will talk about the way forward for esports in the gaming industry. And for this discussion, we would like to welcome our esteemed speakers for the day. For this panel, I would like to invite on stage, first of all, Soham Thacker, CEO and founder, Gamerji, Mr. Anurag Khurana, founder and CEO, Penta Esports. He's also there with us. May I have the honor of inviting Anurag. Mr. Shah, co-founder, Orangutan. Please welcome Mr. Jay. We have Santosh Pecheti, founder and director, Esports 7C Esports. Please welcome Mr. Santosh. We have Mr. Siddharth Ravishankar, Chief Gaming Officer, Galaxy Racer, and Chief Strategy Officer, Nigma Galaxy, Mr. Siddharth. And we have Mr. Rushindra Sinha, who is the founder and CEO, Global Esports. Please welcome Mr. Rushindra. And to moderate this session, so the session will be moderated by Heeru Dingra, Chief Business Officer, Dentsu Creative India. May I have the honor of inviting Heeru on stage with a huge round of applause. And she's in purple. Purple and black is the color of the day. So can we have a double round of applause for the beautiful women out there?
Well done, Heeru. Well done.
Hello. Audible?
Yes.
Welcome, guests. How are you all doing? I love your glass. Keep it on. So esports, pretty exciting. It's been growing. I don't have to say more about it. Whatever reports that I have read recently, 1/3 of the world's population are gamers. I think many are sitting out here right now also. Also, the anticipated growth or the expected forecast for esports is about 46% in the next 4 years. So my first basic question, and anybody can pick up the mic and answer that, is what has led to the stupendous growth of esports in India? The man with the glass.
Oh, wow. So my name is Dr. Rushindra Sinha. So thank you so much for having me here. So I think there have been quite a few factors. One of them definitely, especially in India, has been the advent of mobile gaming. I think that accessibility of being able to play whichever game you want on your phone, on the device that you already own, without having to buy anything additional, has been a great factor. Along with that, of course, 4G, 5G technology coming in. And definitely one thing that we cannot ignore, we were discussing this earlier as well, is COVID. For sure, I think everyone being locked indoors for the last 2 years gave them a lot of time to play video games.
Okay, anybody? Anurag, do you want to add something?
I think what Rushi just said, I would like to add to that. See, the problem with PC is, or not the problem, the thing with the PC is that PC is a shared device, whereas the mobile is that individual device. It's a personal device. So that has been the biggest boom. And second is Geo. I've seen so many presentations where they define the world before Geo and after Geo. So I think these two things have really helped gaming to grow in India.
Okay. I was speaking to you all off stage, and I know quite a few of you all started playing video games since you were 2, 3, 4 years. We all know that India is growing fast when it comes to esports. One of the fastest growing country, let's say, in terms of revenue, in terms of gamers. But there is a perception, and correct me if it's a perception or not, that still the target audience is Gen Z or the younger millennials. Is that true? If so, is there anything being done by the industry to attract the audience other than Gen Z? Soham, if you want to kind of take up that question.
Sure. I mean, yes, it is partially true that it is Gen Z and millennials, because not only because of the evolution that has happened over the last decade or couple of decades in the gaming industry, but it's also the accessibility to start doing activities on a smaller screen, like what Rushindra also mentioned, like mobile games and the entire access to it. But then again, we are a country which produced a game like Ludo King, which apparently is the largest user-based game globally. And that is not restricted only to the Gen Zs or the millennials. We talk about games which are, Ludos, which are chess, for example. I was speaking with Anurag earlier this morning. These are the games that have been there for every generation since probably centuries, and that are also picking up in the gaming and the esports space, in the virtual space, which caters to the audience which is beyond just millennials or Gen Zs, and also attracting the more mature audiences who probably in once upon a time were not so avid gamers, but now if you see, I mean, I could talk about my mom literally picking up a phone and playing Candy Crush, which never saw her a couple of decades ago. So
She
that
competes with
definitely
you?
has changed. Unfortunately, it's a single player game, but I'm sure she'll beat me to it if it ever was a multiplayer one.
That's great. Anybody wants to add? Yeah.
So I think just to add to how the trend of these Gen Zs and millennials is taking place right now. Let's take an example of football or FIFA, which is in esports. Today, the Gen Zs know a team like Leicester City because they've been competing with that team on their PS5s and stuff. Today, they are aware about a player because of the games they are playing. So, and that's how the trends are shifting today. The Gen Zs are not playing the games because they know the player from before. The fan base is being created at the esports level. So I think, that's how the trend is shifting in esports amongst these Gen Zs and millennials.
So I think one of the really important things that people don't realize about video games is that you don't need to try very hard to sell them. I mean, they're cool. It's gaming. Kids want to play video games. And if there's one thing that I think any marketer can agree on is that if they want to see what's trending, they look at the younger generation, what they're doing. And the younger generation is playing video games. And that's really what they enjoy doing. They like games like Minecraft, Roblox, they don't need to really advertise very hard. It's word of mouth. Like in schools, it's cool when you're playing a game. And now that suddenly means that all the nerds earlier that, back in our generation when we used to play video games, they were called nerds. But now all those nerds are the cool kids because they are the ones, they're streaming, they're competing in tournaments, they're getting all the eyeballs, they're getting all the attention. And it's so much more than what I think the rest of the world thinks of it right now. And it's already gone mainstream. So it's no longer a niche that it used to be.
Interesting. Anurag, we spoke about, stuff that you're doing at the grassroots level. So I want you to speak more about it. We, of course, have seen penetration in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and I think it's only increasing. What should the industry do to ensure there's further penetration? What are you doing? Because there are some examples that you gave me backstage as well.
So I think when you talk about industry, I only talk about brands. Brand needs to put more money, but keeping that aside, what we are doing, our vision is to basically become the Ranji Cup for cricket. So that's our ultimate goal. So for that, we are launched 2 leagues. One is the amateur league, where the only criteria is that none of Rushis or Jazz teams can participate because they are salaried players. So that is the only requirement. Otherwise, anybody who's semi-pro or amateur can participate. And we do one tournament for one game every month. Though we call it an amateur league, that's the format. And second is the collegiate league, where it's only for college students. What we want to do is we want to replicate the whole sports system of in colleges to esports, because I'm very clear just adding to what Gen Z were talking about, my kid who's 9-year-old today, he knows the complete roster of GE and half the roster of Orangutan. So that is what Gen Z is today doing. But we want the next talent to become identified through platforms like us, not my platform only, platforms like us, because what generally happens in all the open tournaments, though they are open for amateurs also, when the broadcast starts, camera comes in, the biggest issue is it's always the same pro teams who are being viewed there. That is why we have put the requirement of that pro players can't participate in that tournament. We want Global Esports or Orangutan, or as it happened with Revenant. So winner of our amateur league was actually picked up as a Revenant Esports team. We want to create that whole thing so that the new talent gets identified and is picked up by organizations like these guys.
That's great. Anybody wants to add to that?
So I think what Penta is doing at the grassroots level is very important for us as organizations as well, because that is the place where our fan base is getting created. Today, Orangutan is going to be known by the Gen Zs and the generations to follow by the grassroots tournaments that are taking place. Another thing is it becomes, as Anurag sir mentioned, it becomes a great scouting or talent acquisition place for us as well, because it's one of the most difficult, or the player base of these different games are very limited in India. That's why we have to probably go outside India and get players from. That's not our first preference, but we have to do it because of the skill difference that is there. So it's a great platform for us to even onboard players.
I mean, and it's also the support and the acceptance that it is given by the parents now. I mean, like what Anurag mentioned, right? His kid knows the rosters, right? Probably our parents did not even understand what gaming was, right? I mean, today at the grassroots level, especially when you talk about tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, it's not only the kids, obviously they would understand being Gen Zs, but it's also the parents who are now supportive of them entering into this industry or choosing not only gaming but anything around gaming, whether it be development, whether it be animation, whether it be content creation, whatever it might be, as a career option, which unfortunately did not exist a couple of decades ago. So that also plays a big factor in talents getting out. Also the support and the ecosystem evolving from calling gaming as a subset of media to today and esports by itself and having an event like this.
That's interesting. So that next is for you. There is a lot of revenues that comes from sponsorship. I think they are the greatest contributors right now when you talk about esports. I want to understand from you, what can brands do when it comes to integration with esports? What are the opportunities? That's one. And secondly, if you look at brands, are there any recommendations that you might have from a futuristic standpoint for integration from an immersive technology standpoint?
Okay, so it's there's two parts to it as well. So, for example, working with esports teams like ours, I would just say that's very similar to how a classic sports sponsorship would work. In terms of it's similar to going and sponsoring an IPL team where basically our players act as ad banners to say. The more interesting side of it is when brands go and tie up with publishers to do more integrated like awareness campaigns or whatever you'd like to call it. That's where the true opportunity comes in for them to get into the game as well and create that unique experience where someone is not just watching an ad but is actually interacting with your brand. A great example of this would be is how Epic Games has created this entire ecosystem for advertisers around Fortnite. Like, where else would you see, a Marvel movie being promoted immediately followed up by a DC movie being promoted immediately being followed up by a Star Wars movie being promoted? And the reason brands are going to a game like Fortnite, for example, is because it creates so this just falls back to what video games are in general, right? Video games are a form of it's the only active form of content. You cannot passively consume a video game no matter what, even if it's a text-based game. The content progresses based on your interactions and your actions that you do within that limited environment. And Fortnite has basically created this entire environment where they can make you engage with anybody. Like, why would I want to see an ad for Thor's hammer when I can actually use it to go, beat somebody's face in? That sounds a lot more fun. So, brands, I would say they would have to be more open to doing a skew between both, going into the direct digital integration on like a software level with the publisher, as well as working with partners like Rushi's team, like Orangutan, like us, like Seven Seas, and so on and so forth, to build those narratives and stories where you're trying to create those heroes and hero products, similar to how you have a Cristiano Ronaldo who's become a larger than life, or a Messi or a Sachin who've all become larger than life. So I'd say it's a fine balance between both.
Rushi, there's something that I think Global Esports did with Dentsu. Do you want to mention that? from a
Yeah,
brand integration standpoint?
I think you would be the right person to actually describe that in detail. No, but there was a really cool activation that we did where there was the female Afghanistani team that was, because once the Talibani took over, they were not allowed to play in the World Cup, even though they had qualified. So we worked with Dentsu and we hosted a virtual cricket tournament for them, and we got to recreate that match that could have been, which was Afghanistan versus, I believe, Australia, was it, or New Zealand, one of the, I'm not sure, one of the teams. They recreated the finals virtually, and we had that game. And in fact, we even presented that at Cannes. So
Yeah, it got shortlisted.
yes, and they got shortlisted. So it was a really great opportunity that we had working with Dentsu on that, and that's something unique that wasn't done before, and it gave us the opportunity to use gaming as a platform, combine the element of esports, and have the distribution that earlier wasn't possible.
Thanks. So, as a woman, I want to ask, how many women players do you think currently play esports? I, of course, have some numbers basis the data, but I think you have eyes, ears, everything on the ground to tell me the right number. And what can we do to increase the penetration? Jay.
So I don't know the number exactly. I think you'll be the best person. But we at Orangutan, we have a women's Valorant team, and it's not only from India, it's from different regions. So we have 2 players from Philippines, 1 from Singapore, 2 from India. They all get together in Singapore whenever they are playing the tournaments. I think the publishers, Riot Games, for this case, I think it's very important for them to promote and organize tournaments for women's. So the Valorant Game Changers tournament that took place had a proper roadmap, and all the different teams from all across the world got a chance to compete, just as it's happening for the men's competition as well. So I think publisher, if they try to penetrate into the ecosystem and probably have different teams like us, organize tournaments for different teams like us to pick rosters and compete with different teams again. I think that will be the best way for the penetration, and similarly different game developers can do the same.
So one thing I'd like to add, Rushi, you would like to throw some light on that because I saw you doing the trials for women teams. So go ahead.
Yeah, so as of right now, our head of esports is not here at this event because we have tryouts going out for a female roster. And as he rightly mentioned, Riot is really doing a lot of work with their Game Changers initiative, which is an all-female version of what they usually do every year with VCT. So there's a lot that's coming for female gamers, and we were quite surprised that we had more than 200 female pro players who applied for our tryouts. And we honestly didn't know there were that many pro female gamers in India when we were doing that. We were worried that we wouldn't be able to find the top 6 that we are looking for. And now we're having a tough time kind of finalizing which 6 we're going to go ahead with. So that's the stage we're in. And I only see this going up from here. So I'm glad that publishers as well as orgs and a lot more people are working actively towards pushing more girls into the whole gaming ecosystem, because they're already there. They just don't feel it's a safe or a ready environment for them to kind of just get out there and give it a shot. Even from a home perspective, they're not sure how their families would react. I mean, all of us were discussing this earlier, how our families reacted when we wanted to do something in the gaming industry. I think as a female in India, they're going to face all those problems plus more.
And just to add, I think the skill level is almost the same. There's no, like, a couple of our women players are better than our men's roster as well. So, just to put it out there, they are really,
I like
really
the sound
good.
of
Yeah.
So our leadership has been very strong about women in gaming, and at least candidly, the largest reason why they used to say is even the men in gaming are controlled by women, because at the end of the day, all purchasing powers and decisions I'm pretty sure most of the gentlemen on this podium can agree also are controlled by women, whether it's a mom, a sister, a girlfriend, a wife, whatever it is. So one of our sister companies is the Girl Gamer Esports Festival, which is one of the largest running third-party women's only esports event, which has been a globally distributed property for the last 3 to 4 years. So what we noticed over there is, especially with the newer generation, so 20 and 18 or below, the number of female gamers are actually pretty high. It's almost at a 50-50 ratio. But the only thing is, there is no specific platform for them to come and showcase, because at the end of the day, as Ruchi and everybody else had mentioned before, they don't have a safe space to showcase their talent. because the true nature of esports is that it is open. There have been a few cases where, like for example, the largest example would be is StarCraft is a legacy esport where one of the world champions at one point was actually a woman who plays under the name of Scarlet. So, and she came out of nowhere. She's from Canada. She came out of nowhere and beat like some of the top Korean players who were then, and Korean StarCraft players are like Shah Rukh Khan level celebrities to say. So there, it's just that especially when it comes to team-based titles, there's never been a safe space for them to express themselves or be able to enter a mixed team purely based on skill. So it's just more of, there's definitely a lot of women in gaming and who consume gaming, and like at the esports title level, it's almost at a 50-50% in terms of a user base split in demographics. But it's just that with Riot doing properties like Game Changers, Tencent has experimented with PUBG Mobile and a few female-only leagues in Southeast Asia, and so has Moonton and with their game MLBB. So it's slowly something that will see a rise, definitely, because the user base is already there.
Hi everybody, Santosh here. Just to add to that, right? Even the TOs are actually looking into encourage female gamers. I think the one I could think of is Sky Esports. They are actually putting a only female tournament for MLBB and in Southeast Asia. And also they are putting some of the events that is coming down in 2023 for India as well, which is something pretty cool because this was not happening before as much as it's supposed to be. Now there is a roadmap laid out for women where they can enter, showcase their talent, and get into esports organizations. It's actually picking up, right? It takes time, but definitely there is no boundaries or there is no end, right? It's always about just think sky is the limit, right?
Hold on to the mic. My next question is for you. You come from a very diverse background. Again, something we spoke backstage. You have bought companies, sold companies. There is a lot of consolidation that has happened this year, at least not a lot, but there has been some consolidation in the esports market. We have seen Microsoft buying a gaming company. We have seen other companies as well getting bought. I want to know, what is the impact of this consolidation in the esports industry? What do you think the future would be like?
You see, traditionally, if you look at any businesses, right, whenever there is a growth in industry, there will be a lot of startups that would raise into this market, right? And eventually what would happen is that they would be acquired, a lot of M&As will happen. That's when you will see the consolidation to happen, right? I think India is not there yet, right? It's probably take about another 3 to 5 years to get to that stage where you see large enough organizations that are actually going to stay within the industry. Like, for example, Tech Mahindra or Infosys, right? These guys are there from the very beginning, but they do have acquired a lot of companies over a period of time, right? That are also tech companies. The same way in esports side as well, right? So there are like so many new organizations, right? Where myself, I'm probably about 8.5 years in India, right? Jay, the same. About 4 years experience, or 4 or 5 years experience over there for global esports, right? And about year and a half experience in India for Galaxy Racers. So over a period of time, when you are investing, right, you would see that some companies would go off, some companies would phase out. At the same time, some companies will merge together and become a super large company, right? So that's how the industry would go over a period of time. And that is what I'm seeing in the next 5 to 7 years.
Anurag, do you want to add something to that?
The only point I like to add is that the whole scenario with esports in India right now is that there are not enough titles. Okay, so that is becoming a little bit of issue for all of us, but there's something we're living with. So that's the only thing I like to add.
Okay, my next question, before I move to the fun part, is for all of y'all. What do you think is the future of esports? What are the future trends you foresee in India? And what do brands do to capitalize on these trends? So it's a clubbing of 3 questions. Anybody, in fact, each one of y'all would be helpful.
Oh wow! So the future of esports, especially in India, I think mobile is going to go a lot bigger. That's a great entry into the world of gaming and esports for a lot of people who've never experienced what this industry is like. I think we can all say before PUBG or BGMI, most people in the country did not know what esports and gaming was. That opened up opportunities for all of these people. Even if now they don't play the game, they moved on to different games and different parts of the ecosystem, but that gave them access. I see a lot more of that happening in India. But eventually, the mature market is PC. They will eventually want a better experience if they want to stream, if they want to play higher end graphic AAA titles, if they want games that have campaigns. There's a lot more that they can do when they graduate to a PC or a laptop. So I think that's where we will eventually head. But initially, it's all going to be mobile. I think the next 3 to 5 years for India is going to be a lot of mobile gaming.
I totally agree with Rushi, but one more point which I like to add to whatever he said is that the viewers worldwide, 60% of viewers are not the gamers. They just come for the fun, entertainment, the sports aspect for esports. They are not gamers themselves. I think, which is also true in India, because a person might be playing BGMI, but he might come and watch Free Fire or Valorant tournament, whatever it may be. So that is the only thing, but remind me of a tagline of an ad for Orange. The future is orange, the future is bright. So the same way I will put for esports also.
I absolutely concur with what Anurag just said, and it's yes, mobile gaming is meant for the masses for the ease of access, and obviously we are also living in a country where it's a price sensitive country, right? Gaming PCs are not for everyone. We know that consoles, not everyone can afford it. If you ask today a Gen Z who is probably in his early days or later stage of school or early days of college is not going to be affording a 1.5 2 lakh rupee PC just to play a game. Mobile gaming is going to be there for the masses, and running an esports platform ideally catering to the masses or the millions. PC games, at least from what our experience has been, is less than 2% of the total user base, PC and console combined. And the ideal reason, like I said, the amateur space does not have the accessibility. So eventually, where the OEMs or even the manufacturers or the brands that make these, if they can assist or bring out the right set of hardwares that can enhance the experience even at that cheaper level. Today, why everyone has a smartphone, because they are accessible and affordable even to the auto wallahs that we see out there. And that is, if that happens at the gaming scale, then you are looking at a very, very, very bright future where not only the gamers, but also brands, manufacturers, every industry kind of combines and makes it one single ecosystem for everyone to survive in.
I think just to add to what he mentioned, the current Gen Zs and millennials, whoever, at the age of 15, 16, 5 years, 6 years down the line, when they are 21, 22, they will have a higher spending capacity. And I hope probably brands will benefit out of this. People, if people enjoy watching a PC game, they will want to purchase it, or they will have the aspiration of buying one in the future when they can afford it. So I think it's a long shot for a lot of brands who are investing a lot of money, and if they keep investing that much money, I feel it is going to benefit them in some way or the other. Completely agree, it's going to be dominated by mobile gaming because the masses, it's a lot more accessible. But I think in the next 5 to 6 years, there will be a lot of opportunity for the brands who are investing right now at an early stage to kind of benefit out of it.
So for the brands, when you look at the future, right? The first thing is today, if you look at Indian market, it's more about, hey, you have this much user base and user audience that are there, and we would like to reach and we would like to give their experience of our product, right? That's how it is today. But if you look at markets like US or Europe, they're actually consulting the brands. They're actually giving, hey, what would my user is expecting out of us, right? And what would they expect out of a brand like you? They are becoming the marketing consultants for them and advocating what would be the right strategy, right? That is how it has changed, right? When it comes to sponsorships, right, it has to be a strategic sponsorships. It's not just a random sponsorships anymore, right? the future of esports would be just like that, right? Where the esports marketing teams would be coordinating with the marketing teams of the brands and educate them what would be the right strategy to what is a go-to market strategy, right? And what would be the cost benefit analysis, and how can we make a user acquisition better, right? All these things would come into place where these brands act as give access to the pool of audience that would really benefit from the brand that they are promoting.
Just to add on to what Santosh said, I think it's also because there'll be more precedent to the point that basically these publishers and stuff can give you more robust data points as to what a consumer's behavior might be, as opposed to just a social media platform, again, because of the active versus passive form of content. And that's going to build up. And personally speaking, I think it's like about 5-10 years down the line, it's going to be like cricket. Like, for example, anytime IPL is going on, like it's heated at home. My mom is very passionately arguing with the TV, but I don't think she's someone who's ever picked up a cricket bat in her life, right? So eventually, as the user base in the community grows, there's going to be a point where, like, for example, our generation are going to start having kids, and they like, I'm pretty sure Soham, Anurag's kids and stuff, like they watch them, maybe watching an esports tournament and go like, "Ooh, dad, what's that?" And he might just sit next to him and start watching it and may not necessarily play the game himself. But the inclination of him getting involved and playing the game is higher, because at the end of the day, someone watching cricket and being able to play cricket, the accessibility for a game is a lot larger. So I think eventually it will move into that form factor where, it's just so massively consumed that people are going to consume it irrespective of whether they play the game or not. And as Rushi and everybody else said, rightly so, India, the future is mobile gaming, but there is potential large disruptions in technology basically coming in with 5G, and assuming cloud gaming becomes something stable, then basically the point that the others have brought up saying, like someone was saying, where's a college student going to have that 1.5-2 lakhs to go dump it on, fancy gaming PC? That might just go out the window if with technologies like 5G and cloud gaming coming in, I can basically stream an entire gaming PC onto my phone without, I'm assuming it would come out at like some of the models that were already experimented was a subscription-based model similar to most other content platforms like a Netflix or a Prime. So you'd be paying pittance, what about anywhere between $1 to $10 per month, and you pretty much have access to a $2,000 device. So this could be a potential large game changer. But yeah, the guys are definitely right. India is a mobile-only market at this point.
With that thought, let's move to the fun part. You can't come to a gaming summit and not play game. Now, clearly, I can't get the consoles out, but I want to see the competing spirit in my panelist for a prize. It doesn't come without a prize. So can you please get the hamper right here? Keep it right here. And then let's see how this goes. All you have to do, raise your hand and answer quickly. 10 questions. Whoever answers the maximum wins the prize. So you're competing with each other.
One sec. So just collect everybody's mic. So, yeah. Good, sorry.
It's not going to be that easy. The questions are going to be a mix of esports, a mix of knowing you. I'm sure the audience wants to get to know you better. And of course, some fun questions you'll get to know. So 10 questions. It's a rapid fire with me. Ready? Here we go. The earliest known esport tournament took place in which year? I'll give you options. 1978, 1972, or 1975?
78.
Well, that's a wrong answer. Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4.
72.
72 is the right answer. It was the earliest known video game competition took place on 19th October 1972 at Stanford University for the game Space War.
I was close.
That's fine. You have still 9 to go. So, Rushi 1, 0. Which one of, this is a very simple one. Which one of these is not an esports franchise? League of Legends, Street Fighter, StarCraft, The Clash of the Titans. The Clash of the Titans.
Clash of Clans or Clash of Titans?
Clash of the Titans.
Clash of Titans. Clash of Titans.
Clash of Titans.
So you can raise your hand, otherwise this is getting complicated now. Yeah, it's not a franchise, but I'm going to give it to Siddharth because he said it softly, but he said it first. And a little quicker. Let's move a little. I'm intentionally saying the question slowly so you get it right, but the answers have to be quicker. Raise hands and then answer. Which are the top 2 countries that make esports market in the world? Top 2 countries. Yeah, Anurag.
Korea and China.
That's right. So, 1, 1, 1. Are we sharing the hamper? I don't know.
That is the plan. That is the plan.
Okay, now this one is personal. At what age did you play your first video game? Do you remember the first name of the game?
2007, Warcraft.
Okay, you get it? So, moving on. Out of these, okay, I'm not going to give you options. Question, again, personal. Which is your favorite esports game? Jay.
Valorant.
Okay. Next question.
Personal.
This comes with history. What is the name of the professional esports team whose members are all over 60?
We covered in esports in 5 and you covered in esports.
1, 2,
yeah.
3,
Amy.
4, 5. Guys, the audience have the answer?
Rahul, help everybody.
Okay, I have a different answer. Do you have another option? Okay, it says the Silver Snipers. Silver Snipers are the oldest. The age ranges between 68 to 78.
Good to know.
This is easy. Next one. I think, Jay, you're leading the count so far. What is the approximate number of gamers globally? I'll give you options. 2.4 billion, 3.7 billion, or 5.8 billion?
3.7 billion?
No.
Do 50% of your population, yaar. She already said it.
That's right, Rushi. 3 more to go. So I think you are tied. Jay and Rushi are tied right now. A little faster. Okay, this is personal. If you're not part of esports industry, you would have been
Unemployed.
unemployed.
No, one sec. You were running your food business before
My
that.
friend,
so
you had
I
2
don't agree with
businesses
it.
before this. We just spoke about
That's
it.
not true though. So,
Well, because I tried everything and really did not see myself a fit in anything, which I already mentioned. So that is why I would definitely have been unemployed and sitting at home.
love the answer. If you could choose, personal question, if you could choose your favorite cricketer or a sports person to lead a team in esports, who would you choose and why?
So I would choose KL Rahul simply because he has a lot of interest in esports and he personally plays a lot of esports, and so yeah.
3, 2. 3, 2. Then I think 1, 1. The score count. The last question. In 1 word. Yeah, if you get this right, you get the hamper. And it's a very simple one. What excites you the most about esports in 1 word?
It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. Okay. That's it. I don't have more questions, but thank you for being so sporty. Thank you for playing the game. And the hamper is yours, Jay and Rushi. You all can share it. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.